Hi everyone, it's Roz here, and this morning I thought I'd get in and do a bit more training with Bill. The first part of the training I do mostly off halter and just emphasising my commands and using a drawing in process. Also a routine because Bill works very well once he knows what the routine is, and just generally having a nice time. Horse training shouldn't have to be hard work. It can be actually very enjoyable for both the owner or the rider and the horse. Bella was refusing to move, and Bill didn't want to push past her because to get behind her, he had to squeeze past the fence and her. And she's still very hormonal at the moment and objects to anything she thinks is ill manners. So the only other way to get him round to the gate was to walk around with him through the outside and just encouraging him to come around and join me for a training session. I decided that I'd tie off the gate opening, not for Bill to run out, but to stop Bella from getting in. And I was stupid to think a small piece of string would hold her out. She had decided she wanted to be in the arena with us. Not that she's keen on doing any particular training, but she does like to be close by. So it wasn't long after this that she barged her way in, and then I had to just continue training with her in the arena. So, if you're going to teach your horse verbal commands, you need to be repetitive and just make sure that they actually understand the word that you're teaching them. Bill's got quite an extensive language base now that he understands in terms of the commands that I give him, but I still reinforce those commands over and over to make it easy for him so that there's no misunderstanding. Especially when I get on his back and I start to ride him, and if I give him a verbal command without any other sort of signals, I want him to respond. And so that's why I spend this time during the ground training just reinforcing each step over and over. I'm also at this point walking him around the barrel, which I'm going to use to stand on, because I want him to learn to come up to that barrel, stand still, and wait for me to get on and off him, and to listen to the command when I say halt. It doesn't matter what's in his way, what he's standing next to, he's not to move. And so I go around and round and round that barrel just enough times to keep his interest up, to keep his focus, but also just to desensitize him to objects that I'm going to use to get on and off him. So I use that square to teach him to swivel and on his hindquarters and to give no matter which direction I go in. So everything I do with him, I do both sides, and I want him to turn without having to step outside of that square. And it's only really just big enough for him and me, but that's how I want it. And the object is to get him to do that without touching the sides. Bella at this point was a distractor. She broke in because she wanted to be a part of the scene. And I don't blame her. Look, I'm not ever really fussed when she breaks in. The only thing that can be a bit annoying is that he can at times lose concentration if she's in his way or she's threatening him or he feels that she shouldn't be there. So that's usually the only reason I ever throw her out. Cal at this point had decided to come out and see what I was doing with the horses, which is always a distractor because Bill immediately thinks there may be some goodies involved. So he took himself out of the arena and went over to visit Kel for a few minutes while I got myself a little bit more organised. Bill was having second thoughts about the whole training process now because he was distracted. Bella was in his training arena and Kel was on the outside chatting, and Bill decided he didn't want to do it anymore. So at this point, I went and got the halter and put it on just to remind him that the session's not over till we both agree it's over. The grooming sessions for Bill are a reward. Also, they're part of the bonding process and help him to feel good about himself, good about spending time with me. And I always mix it up. I'm not one of these sort of people that sticks to a hard and fast routine of work. And I will also say that I'm not a great one for actually lunging him on lead because I can get him to do most things that I want off lead. I don't have a big issue with it, but look, when it comes to doing things like trotting and cantering, I will lunge him, but generally off lead. Again, I use the arena because for me it's more about the verbal command side and getting him to do what I ask him to do without having to physically force him in any way or form, but to get him to do it because he wants to do it for me. And the lunch stick that I use with the little yellow cloth on the end, that's more for to be an extension of my arm. So I rarely ever use it for its actual purpose, but it's always a guide, and it serves me well. And look, yes, I desensitize and I do those other sort of things that are necessary in groundwork. But really, for me, it's just a tool as an extension of my arm and a guide more than anything else. And Bella is watching on, if you notice. She does very much the training process of monkey see, monkey do. And you'd be surprised how often horses, being curious as they are, will watch another horse do the things that you ask them to do. And I always find that when it comes to her, she picks things up fairly quickly too, simply because she's seen Bill do it. Again, praise your horse for everything they do that is right. Do not lecture them for everything they do that is wrong. You want a willing horse, you want a horse that's engaged with you mentally, and also know their limits and know your own limits. I never ever make a training session stressful for Bill. I want him to be super comfortable because I'm an older person, and so a lot of the training that I do is designed for older people and for safety. Because when I do ride him, I want to know that if I suddenly had something go wrong with me, that he would be responsive to my verbal commands. And that's something that a lot of riders and trainers don't often think about is that they just assume that if you come off, the horse is going to gallop off and leave you for dead. I want Bill to be super responsive to me and safe for me, and safe for anybody actually who gets on him. So I don't care if I have to repeat the same things over and over to him, praise him over and over for what he gets right, and ignore largely what he gets wrong in training. So I never chastise him for mistakes that he's made. Only positive reinforcement. If there's any kind of negative reinforcement, it's only if he's ever challenging me and being disrespectful, and then I might move his feet. But other than that, every training session that we do starts and finishes on a positive note. The more relaxed Bill is about learning things, the more willing he is to learn, the further we can go together in terms of doing harder things. And so I always monitor just how comfortable he is when I ask him to do something new. And I'll keep repeating the same process over and over until I can see that he's firmly got it in his mind. Oh, yeah, this is what we do, and I'm comfortable and happy and relaxed with this. And then we'll move on to something else. That's the pattern of my training with him, and it's all designed to stay within the horse's comfort zone. And I know people go, oh, you've got to push your horse out of its comfort zone. Sure, there are times when you need to do that, but if you can make that transition an easy one, why not? So if you notice, I ask Bill gently, and I don't use any pressure or force on him to get him to pull his head round to the side. So, and the reason I do that again is because I suffer from muscle weakness at times. So I want him, and I also will never ride him with a bit. So I want him to turn his head into my knee when I'm on him, with minimal pressure, if any pressure at all. So if it comes down to it, if I'm on his back and I put my hand towards the side of his face and ask him to turn his head, if I can't hang on to the reins properly, he'll do that for me. So a lot of my training is for older people. This part of the video is the second part where I'd actually put the halter on Bill to do some lead work. He's never keen on that, to tell you the truth, because a lot of the training that I do with him is reward focused, using a draw in process and word commands. They're the two favourite tools of mine and what he's used to. But what I want him to do now is to learn to respect also the halter and the lead, which he doesn't always do. And you'll see that in the video when he's decided he's had enough. He doesn't want to jog, and I wanted him to jog around this time versus him just doing it off his own free will. So every now and then, that's where Bill and I occasionally, not a clash of wills as much, just a clash of ideas. And but it's just about working with each other and him understanding what I want him to do, and him saying to me, "No, I've had enough." And so I accept that. For a lot of people, that's a big no-no. But what I've found over the years in training Bill is when he says no, he's genuinely had enough. And Bill's a goer. Bill will usually play for ages and enjoys training. So when he says no, I respect that. So as you can see, he makes a little bit of an effort and does a bit of a jog for me, not for very long. But the fact that he made an effort, I always praise him. So that's another important aspect in your horse training. I see very little praise going on for when horses do something right. People seem to be so focused and so mission obsessed that they forget that the horses do need praise. And so I spend a lot of time encouraging and building up Bill's confidence and letting him know when he's done well. And look, when he's done wrong, very rare for me to ever chastise him verbally, because I know that 99% of the time he tries his very best for me. So we have moments on this video where he won't lift his feet up. So I keep reinforcing the word step because I want him to learn that no matter what we're doing, if I ask him to step, he knows to lift his feet. And he learns what happens when he doesn't lift his feet as he trips on things. So that's also a process of learning for him, because gradually the games are going to get a little bit harder, and he's going to have to learn to lift his feet a bit higher. Well, we'd come towards the end of the training session and he'd had enough for the time. And so I always finish off with a reward. And the reward is always grooming, getting that attention that Bill loves. And we do that for a little while until so he knows that it's not all about making him do what I want him to do and then discarding him, but as an active participant and a partner in our relationship to show him the love and care that he deserves. And so that's how I try to end off most training sessions.